All right, y'all. Welcome into the Bearded Bros Golf Show, our weekly adventure talking about golf subjects in and around golf. We're going to hit it heavy with the RBC and its surrounding topics. A little bit of slow play, a little bit of a fantastic finish coming down the end here in a playoff. More live chatter coming out from their players. Seeing a lot more verbalization of things that people would like to improve about live these days. And that's really it. So, but I think there's a lot of stuff to cover, and also Will Zalatoris. So, let's
Yeah.
kick it off with the RBC Heritage. So, finished today in a three-hole playoff with Jordan Spieth and Matthew Fitzpatrick, with Fitzpatrick taking the win. Spieth had
hmm
two putts on the first two playoff holes to take the win, but wasn't able to shut the door and win his second consecutive Tartan jacket. So,
Yeah.
we've talked a couple weeks ago about Matthew Fitzpatrick and his, gain of power and being able to compete with the big dogs. What do you think about this win today?
I think it's a good win for Matt. I think it's some good momentum building going into the PGA. Think it just goes back into play what they always talk about every year at RBC. If you can't drive it accurately, it doesn't matter how long you are. So just goes to tell you, I mean, if you can play a 3 wood or a hybrid or something, get to the corner and play your irons in, you'll have a shot to win. And he capitalized and hit it to gimme range. And I mean, that third playoff hole was perfection after that.
It was. I mean, he really did a good job of closing it out. He's played out of his mind yesterday with an 8 under round. I think that was a personal best for him on tour. So I'm happy to see it. He
Yeah.
seems like a really cool guy. I caught them kind of doing the wrap up, and I guess the story of the week was him and his family always did this trip out to Hilton Head area and played that course, or at least went during the week of the RBC. And so it was something that he
Right.
grew up, attending and wanting to win. So kudos to Matthew Fitzpatrick. Another story from earlier on in the week that I thought was pretty heartwarming was Jon Rahm showing up to the RBC Heritage the week after winning the Masters. Pretty cool, and he very much said it was for the fans, even though it was an elevated event. I don't think he's taken any of those designated events off, so he did not wouldn't have faced any kind of penalty for that. But very cool to
Yeah.
see him showing up and also making the cut. It's I was sitting there thinking like, okay, he's gonna mail it in, and throw some shots away at the end. May not be as sharp, but he's a pro's
Right.
pro. He loves the game and he made the cut, played the weekend. So kudos to him. What do you think about Jon Rahm doing it for the fans?
Uh, Same thing. I had that same sentiments. Uh, Easy for him to mail it in, especially after the start he got off to again. Just another over par round. Bad weather, but he stuck it out. I mean, like just a true champion type vibe. Like, I mean, guy. I mean, he ended up shooting what almost double digit under in the
Yeah.
end. So I think that's pretty serious to show how he can bounce back even after celebrating. So uh, definitely trending the right way still for John. I think that's a great look for the PGA as well. And so, man, a lot to build on from this week. I think the PGA is heading the right way despite them taking away the match play and all that other stuff. We're not gonna get into that.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, it's humans. We hate change, and so seeing something that we've either liked or gotten used to over time, it kind of messes with you, right? You have to get adjusted to it. But honestly, I've really been enjoying the PGA Tour season this year. It's really panned out to be an awesome season, and so yeah, I think they're going to
Definitely.
continue that. I mean, we have a couple of light events coming up here. With the event in New Orleans, I'm forgetting the sponsor name of that
Zurich.
tournament, the Zurich that's coming up. And then we're gonna have one more little off week, and then we're heading into the PGA. I mean, the schedule maybe not maybe not just one week, but there's some good tournaments I think coming up after 2 weeks. But again, we're gonna watch. We have a couple of comments here, so reading for Spieth, we have Yolanda was wishing for a win for Jordan Spieth. So yeah, he's a good guy. We root for him. We're Dallas guys, so yeah, there's always that kind of
Right.
hometown, desire for our guys to win. And then my other guy here, Henry Monster. Let me take this. Oh, there we go. This is the PGA Tour's dream scenario. A handful of big names, right? Names that we
Yep.
know, faces that we know that the casual fan would be able to pick up on. And I agree with that. And we have one more here from Henry. Makes the sponsorship talks easy with RBC. Curious how they eventually rotate the elevated events around. I don't think they remain the same every year. I agree. I already saw some, discussion of, with Rory pulling out of the RBC and losing out $3 million on the PIP money, that, they're going to have some adjustments around what's required next year. I do think to try to get some attention on some lesser
Yeah.
known events or events that maybe lost their luster. We talked earlier about the Pro Am, the Pebble Beach Pro Am, that was going to probably need some tender loving care earlier on in the season. That ratings for that and getting people to show up for that tournament wasn't what it's been in the past. And so I can definitely see them adjusting the schedule to accommodate that. What do you think?
I think so too. I think they kind of bit themselves in the foot having, one of their elevated events right after a major where they know a lot of guys need to cool down, have a cool off period from such an adrenaline and, concentrated week. So I think that's on the PGA, but I also think that, with you trying to be a responsible adult and be the face of the PGA or be a part of that group, you also need to make that conscientious decision if you're gonna lose out on the money or if you're gonna go ahead and go through with it and be a man of the people like JT, like Speed, like Rom. They all made it through. They all made pushes, so it's not like you couldn't have done it. I mean, I feel like your situation was a little bit different, Rory, because you didn't really play like you wanted, but that's when
Right.
you got to put on your big boy pants and keep it pushing.
I
So,
agree. I agree. Which is it's just very so it's very different from the Jon Rahm approach. Before we hopped on, I was scrolling through social media and saw a post from him. It was like something from Golf Digest, I believe, and he said, I'm a golf junkie. I'm addicted to the game, and he's like, I'll take some time off. I'm tired, and you'll catch me chipping that evening or something. And so,
right.
yeah, I don't know, man. Rory's starting to aggravate me a little bit. I need him
Agree.
to get it together, win a major this year, and really get his validate the attention and the things that the PGA Tour is heaping upon him. I had a comment earlier in the week on one of our clips from last week's Masters show that the person said, he's doing all this kind of behind the scenes stuff on, the PGA Tour Players Board, and that it's taking his attention away from the game and the commitment that you have to put into it to, excel at the highest level, win majors, and just be super focused on winning and those bigger tournaments and being able to show
Hmm.
up and have that transfer from regular tour stops. What do you think about the comparison and contrast and intensity between Jon Rahm and Rory McIlroy? I think about Tiger in his heyday. Dude was not doing a lot of media appearances back in the day outside of maybe some sponsorship stuff with Nike. What do you think about the
Right.
contrast between the two guys?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even really think about it that way, and I mean that's an interesting point to bring up. And I mean, when you put it like that, I just really think Rory's coming with more excuses. I gave him one; he's a dad now, but John Rahm just run the Masters, and he's got two kids. He's got a newborn and a toddler. So you got to put the onus on Rory, whether he's doing behind the scenes work, trying to help out the PGA, whether it be that mid level player or that lower level player, however it may be, what he's doing to get the game better off for the PGA Tour, he still needs to take care of himself. So if he's stretching himself too thin to where he can't lock in to key events where we want to see his name, where the people that are watching the PGA Tour want to see his name, then I think we need to take a step back. But again, that's just me being me, and that's just me trying to have no excuses for the BS. So I would say he needs to, put that first foot forward and, get back to work. But it is what it is now. So he's got the second half of the year still. He's got
Yeah,
3 majors still to play. I
yeah.
think he needs to lock it in a little bit. But
I agree.
what you got?
They're coming hard and fast. I mean, we're seeing events, coming up on us. We had a lot of build up, and now, like you said last week, those majors are going to come month after month after month. And so, whatever you have to do to get your brain locked in, competing at the highest level, you can't. I think there was a quote attributed to Jack Nicklaus that said, "You can't relax your way into winning a major. You have to be
Right.
intense and intentional about winning majors." There's not a lot that I agree with Jack Nicklaus on, but I agree with that. You can't just feel like, oh, my game's in a place where I feel like I'm at. You have to obsess, just incessantly on winning, and that being the only thing that your brain is focused on
Yep.
and that you want to achieve at that time. So yeah, we could talk about Rory, forever, just because we're fans, and as a fan of
Right.
a player and his game, you said his driving's the best that we've seen in decades, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to be desired with Rory and where he's played with majors. I even talked about last year in the previous Masters, he went into 18 like 5 strokes behind Scotty Scheffler. So even though he ended up with the
Hmm.
second place finish, losing by 3, he holed out on 18 for a birdie, and Scheffler, ended up with the double bogey on 18. It was fully in hand, so it wasn't even as close as that final tally showed. So
Facts.
I had to like double down, make sure that I was like, he got close, but it wasn't really that close when you broke it down and looked at the details of it.
Yeah.
Henry Bouncer's on fire, so he's saying it's a personal matter that Rory pointed to. Rory wants to have the shine and none of the shade. He loved being the PGA voice on all things live, in my opinion, because he wants that Tiger glamour, but he doesn't have all the lights. Doesn't have when the lights are bright, and that's true. Sometimes people can wilt under the pressure, especially when you're trying to carry an entire league and defend it against
True.
the attacker. So I agree with that. I really do. I appreciate you, Henry. You're on you're on fire today. Um, let's see, another kind of adjacent issue to the RBC Heritage deals with slow play. So last week during the Masters, there was a long, round 4, and Brooks Koepka played in that final group, and he made comments. So this is one thing that I definitely miss about Brooks on the PGA Tour. He is not afraid to say what is on his mind and call people out directly by name. Or very much there's no ambiguity about who he's talking about. And so, Patrick, Cantlay's response was that, hey, the group in front of us was playing slow all day, but he only referenced when they pulled up to hole number 2 that they were still waiting on the tee box. But after that, I think the groups ahead of them cleared. So, what do you think, Patrick Cantlay? Slow play just in general, but even his, I get tired of seeing him on the tee box shuffling
Yeah.
and re-gripping for about 30. I think I counted out the other day. It's about 35 seconds. What are your thoughts on slow play in general?
Uh, well, you know me, right? I take very few practice swings. I take very few thoughts. I just go up there and try to do my thing. Um, I think it was funny that Patrick Cantlay came out and said that because, in typical fashion, that is what every slow player says. Well, the group in front of me is holding me up, so what do you want me to do?
Yeah, the course is slow today. It's not just me.
Everybody's out here. You see the weather. It kills me. And one of the things that I like about Matt Fitzpatrick is, you find out how prepared he is, but even on the round, you see him. He's doing his pre-shot routine while the other players are playing quietly, politely, with the same etiquette you would expect out of a tour pro. So he's getting the work done in the dark while everybody's still paying attention to the person at play, and then he's ready to go as soon as it's his turn. And what is the difficulty in that? What is the difficulty in that? I just again, I don't have many excuses, many reasons for slow play. This I feel like it's even more of an excuse for you to play faster if you're worse. Please, sir,
But
you
play
know
bad
you're
fast.
bad.
Yeah.
Play bad fast. And if you're good, you know you can take a little bit extra time because you know your shots count a little bit more. But still, even then, you've done it for such a long time and you have such a routine. You should be full on in that routine, and it shouldn't take you long to play at all either if you're a better player. I mean, you
Yeah.
think about all the stories, the random Tour Pro stories. Yeah, me and Tiger, we played 36 in 4 hours because they know how to play golf. And you know how easy it is when you get in a rhythm. You're not holding anybody up, and everything like that. I think it's a very easy solution, Ron.
Yeah, and I don't know why he does the foot shuffling. I know it's probably to get his balance and feeling like the weight under his feet, but then there's
Right,
also the gripping and looking. I get it. It just seems like there's a way to cut down on that routine somehow, some way. And I think the
right,
frustration from your fellow players is it can be very palpable. And this is just a very recent example that I'm going to come with. So today in North Texas, there's a Corn Ferry event. So me and my daughter went out and attended this event, and so we were kind of ready to go. Her attention span was starting to struggle, and we kind of waited near, I think it was hole number 15 on this course. It's kind of near the clubhouse, and coming in, it's a short par four, so you're coming in with probably 75 yards into the green. It's a real short hole, but water left, and it's a risk reward par four. So the last group that we watched, there was a player that ended up in the bunker short of the hole. He's probably a little bit further out, and he took about, no lie, 15 practice swings in the bunker. Got out of the bunker, switched clubs, came back. Looked like he was about to swing a couple times, and ended up. I think he got up and down for a par after flying the green, chipping up. Short game was very, very tidy, but the tension with his, former player, not former, excuse me, fellow players was palpable. You could feel the frustration as one of them was just shaking his head. A caddy ended up like sitting down on the ground while this guy was getting ready to hit the ball. And it was the first hole that we had watched them play. And I would have been
disgusting.
interested to follow them a little bit further. But like I said, my little girl wanted to go home. We had spent about 4 hours out there. And I could tell like this wasn't just a single hole situation. They were all frustrated,
Hmm.
by that. But we've seen this for years. There's not going to be much adjustment from the tour. We can. I think the only solution is players calling out other players at the end of the day. That's really the
Yeah,
one thing that's going to stop slow play and embarrassing people, putting people on Front Street, because the amount of slow play penalties or putting people on the clock. I can't even say the last time I've heard that someone was put on the clock and it being someone of note on TV. But I think players are going to have to influence other players because it makes
yeah,
the game horrible. Amateur on every level, amateurs, pros, semi-pro. We all hate. Most of us hate playing with the slow player. You and I just get up there, minimal, routine, get comfortable. Like you said, like Matt Fitzpatrick, get your pre-work done, pick your club out, figure all the math out before you get over there.
it's that simple.
I, yeah, it's very, very simple. So yeah, so slow play, plaguing golf all throughout the world. It's an
Facts.
epidemic. It's an epidemic. So um, last a big topic of the day, and we touched on this a little bit on the Masters coverage with HV3 being very, very transparent about why guys join the Live Tour. Cam Smith coming out speaking on the lack of competition, or that the competition levels between the PGA and Live are not the same. This week we have a player, Jed Morgan, who Jed
Who?
Morgan 23-year-old Australian golfer who joined LIV in its inaugural season last year, wanting more events. They currently play 14 events, which was moved up from the 8 last year, and he would like to see something closer to 18. And then if you include or imply that the Masters would be a part of that, these guys would end up playing about 22 events per year, which puts them on par with what the PGA Tour was requiring of established players to play every single year. So we're kind of, again, retreating back to what, you know, that what they should have done initially. But the approach that I want to take to this discussion is you're seeing more LIV players speak out about things, which is interesting in itself. But him being very honest about him not being able to catch a rhythm, and the big breaks between events, which they are going to be playing next week in Australia, but they're about 3-4 weeks out from their last event. It's hard to get a rhythm playing that spaced out. What do you think about that?
Um, I mean, I don't know how to politely say you guys wanted to play less events for more money and make it more lucrative. So I don't know what the big issue is now. Maybe if you hadn't burnt bridges to other tours, you'd be able to still get on off weeks from the live. You could get into those Asian tour events, get an exhibition here and there. But I mean, when you burn bridges like that, you're gonna have to stick with what's been presented to you. So you need to be playing those money games at the home course, and then be ready. I mean, I think that more puts the onus on you again to just be mentally prepared. If you're locked in mentally, none of this should affect you because the money you play for is all the motivation and hunger that you need. I just
Yeah,
feel like the excuses are coming out because now all of a sudden that y'all have a limited field and there's not much that you're doing to play until that next event. Now it's all an uproar and stuff like that. But again, just like you said, and what we've been talking about, the retractions are coming, and now you're trying to be just a junior PGA or junior DP World Tour. There's no
right.
variation anymore. Again, you're doing the same thing, but a weekend event.
Yeah.
Again,
The yeah, the scales are different between the two, right? The PGA Tour is huge. It's got a huge farm system. That's what people have aspired to play. I think to a certain degree they're becoming each other, but different. And the tough thing is that not tough. I don't want to say it's tough. You know what you were stepping into if you're on the live side of things, but you knew that the PGA Tour, the DP Tour, they're juggernauts. Have an established history, and that players are going to be more apt to push towards those directions. And so here you are, the upstart, which cool. We root for the underdog in life, but when you're antagonistic and you do things to say we're the golf but loud, that's their slogan, that's their motto.
yep,
But at the end of the day, golf is still golf. The core product of what they are presenting still has to be the same. It has to still be high quality golf. And even with the money
facts.
games, I get it. Like when there's money on the line, even if it's $500, $1,000, big bets like Phil Mickelson, $25,000 a hole, something crazy like that, you still aren't set up for tournament conditions. The setups at these majors are very different than week to week at your home course. Even if you're quote unquote playing the tips, there are different
True.
setup things that these tours do to tweak the difficulty and the quote unquote slope rating of these professional tours. So that's something that's hard to duplicate while you're at home, even if you are playing for some stakes. And so I just find it very interesting that what you wanted to get away from, and this is really just speaking to the older guys on the live tour. They are the ones
Yeah.
that I don't want to play as much golf, but to feed the system, you have to bring in some younger guys. And here you are, a having a 23-year-old saying, "I need the reps. I'm not a DJ
Yep.
where I can just pick it up and go play, high quality golf after not playing for a month or 3 weeks since the last time that I put a tee in the ground." So I
Very
don't want to
true.
get too intense about the live part of things, because we've said what we've said. We've been very clear. I feel like our arguments that we've made against this product are very sound. We'll see next week, especially with them playing overseas in Australia. It'll be the middle of the night, early morning, our time when this is coming on. I'm very interested with what the ratings will be on CW. I mean,
Facts.
it's in the middle of the night, and are they gonna, you know, kind of tape it and play it later just to kind of recapture some of those, ratings in prime time? We shall see. But through the first few events of the
Yeah.
year, the ratings have been pretty abysmal. What do you have? Any more thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like what you said. I think they're gonna have to tape record it, and I think they're just gonna have to play it like in a early morning type deal, kind of as if it were like the Putakanya or something, like an off week event, because those
Mm-hmm.
don't get prime time times, but they still get time where you're up and you need something to watch or something while you're wasting time. I think that could be a good thing. Because if you're watching it live, they're going to be fighting with literal infomercials. And if I'm waking up in between off and on and see infomercials, I'm going back to bed. I'm not going
Yeah.
to sit here and try to fan through my TV guide to watch live golf because I mean, Rod, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't even know what CW is on my TV subscription, so we're just gonna be doing a bunch of searching, boss.
I know. We cut the cord, and so we have YouTube TV and CW Live. Like the real channel has not been available. You've been able to do stuff on demand, but
See,
they have not had the true channel. But they were talking about adding it here soon. Some of the local affiliates. We shall see.
okay,
But
but
again, if it's hard for me to find you, I'm not. I'm only gonna extend minimal effort. Honestly, even as a golf fan, if I didn't do and didn't have this channel, I would not seek out Live. But I do it because it's part
true,
of the story. We talked about it. We have to talk about it because it's been in our consciousness for the last 2 years, and so it's something
definitely.
that I have to watch it for that purpose. But if I was 3 years ago, I wouldn't care, honestly. It would just be like, oh, I caught the highlights wherever they show, or find out from YouTube clips whenever they would come up. So
Yep,
that's
just like some
that's
hockey
the
highlights.
that's right. Yeah, I love it from a distance, or care about it from a distance. And if I miss it, I miss it. If I don't, yeah. So
Hmm.
it's all good. So Will Zalatoris, want to talk about him a little bit. So it was announced early in the week. We saw him withdraw from the Masters before the tournament started. Got that? I guess he tried to give it a go, but has been enduring a lot of pain in his back, going back to last year after he had to shut it down. I believe he injured himself in the playoffs, and so he had surgery. Said he's already feeling better, but super concerned about a man this young having back problems already. We saw this, you know,
Yep.
after Tiger achieved his prime, him having back issues, having multiple surgeries until they finally, corrected the back issue. And we haven't seen him struggle too much with the back. It's been more related to his injuries from the accident. But Will Zalatoris, what do you think his? I mean, last year he competed amazingly in the majors. What do you think his
Hmm.
upside is, and realistically, what we can look for? If you're new to the channel and you're watching us for the first time, Marcus has a really good analysis and comparison between another player that's had back issues recently. So, what do you think his upside is, and especially given his age?
I think that it's going to be a tough road back, and I think the majority of it for him is going to be physical. Like, I don't think the mental is going to be the problem. I think for him, it actually is going to be the reps. Unfortunately, the reps are going to have to be next year because when it comes to backs, you do not want to rush back to that at all. There is no timetable for, I'm okay. I think I'll be all right. No, like that thing has to be fully healed and fully okay for you to put that much pressure and that much torque, or it doesn't even make sense for you to come back because that pain that you alleviated through the surgery is going to come back tenfold. It's not even in your best wishes to rush back from something like that. And I think I still am positive about Zalatoris. I think just like we were talking about with Sam, maybe just a slight swing change to kind of alleviate some of that strain. But
Mm-hmm.
if he's been doing that for so long, then of course his body can withstand it. It's just for his amount of how long will it last, and how long will his be before he kind of starts to deteriorate in his run. It's kind of like climbing to a hole. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still optimistic about it, but it's going to be a very tricky road, and making sure that he doesn't rush the process. It's going to be a very much so a trust the process type deal.
100%. And he's a slight guy. He's not a big guy by any means. And so when
Right,
he was, at the height of his powers last year, just the contact that he made, I'm sure like on the range, they always say there's different sounds when Tiger would hit a ball. And
right,
Zalatoris to me seemed like he was one of those players that solid iron contact every single time with that little sawed off
definitely.
follow through. He would just come through the ball, and I can imagine just there's a lot of impact there. Being not he's not a picker by any means. He's going
Oh
down
no.
and he's creating divot. He's no Steve Stricker, and so you didn't mention it this time around, but in the past you've done this, and so Henry Monster is on fire. I'm going to put this quote up on the table. This is one that you've used in the past before as well, right? Jason Day, we're seeing him have a resurgence
Absolutely.
this year, and he's been the model, player that has had back issues and come back and seems to have gotten through that. So you use this example quite a bit as we've talked about Will Zalatoris and Sam Bennett in the previous show. Tell me what have you seen from Jason Day that that's different for somebody who isn't familiar with the changes that he's
Oh
made.
yeah. Jason Day, he used to be a very upright golfer. I mean, when you're that tall, it predicates for you to have more of an upright swing. But when you're that athletic and you're coming with that much downforce and ripping into the ground like that, it's gonna hurt. So from what he's been developing for the last 2 years, since he finally got his back and his vertigo and stuff in order, is a more rounded swing, a flatter swing, more around him, kind of almost like a Matt Kuchar type. Not so much a one plane swing, but more so around the body, a deeper turn, and it's allowed him to get a little bit more clearance and more just technically based instead of him having a lot of hand-eye coordination. So I think that's really what Zalatoris is probably going to have to go to, and take less of a divot, come in more shallow, play a higher flight, maybe even lean on the fade just a little bit more, because we all know how hard it is to hit the draw. It is a lot of hard work to do it all the time. So I think he might have to rely on that a little bit more. But yeah, if Will continues to be as steep as he is, then he's definitely going to have some clearance issues for the
Yeah,
long haul. Like, it's not going to be good.
yeah. Well, we're all hoping that he makes a resurgence. It was good seeing another star come into the fold on the PGA Tour, and it looked like very promising future for him. And I'm not putting that to bed at all. But the injury concerns,
Agreed.
these aren't soft tissue injuries, and so when you start talking about spine, it's different. And so you hope the best for him that he has a great rehab year and is able to come back out, strong. He's put in, a lot of successful runs. He's still searching for that first victory, right? He hasn't won yet on the tour,
No,
if I'm not mistaken.
he won in the playoffs, maybe because he won
Yes, yeah.
uh Nashville, or my fault, Memphis, the FedEx.
Ah, you're right. You're right.
The last WGC FedEx or whatever it was.
Yep.
Excuse me for not knowing the name.
No worries. I've totally blanked on that. But yeah, he finally got his first on tour, tour on first win on tour, and so yeah, we hope for the best for him going forward. So that's all of our topics today in the main show. You got any side topic you want to bring up before we sign off for the week?
Um, no, not today. I feel like most everybody else that isn't in the southern part of USA should probably be getting into their golf season. So good luck with that. Keep the slow play away. Make sure you fix your divots and things like that. But other than that, no, I just wanted to apologize. my AC is on the fritz, guys and gals. So that's why I've been really toweling myself off, and I look goofy. And then my connection is not good today. So just throwing
No
that out
worries.
there. I'm so sorry.
We are getting it out of the mud, so we appreciate every single comment that has come through. Appreciate the participation. We are doing this.
As
We just
always.
love. We're two guys that just love some golf, and yeah, I agree. Shameless plug though. So on your point of yeah, the weather is amazing. You should be getting out and playing golf. If you want an awesome tool to improve your golf game, I've been using the Arccos system here for the last year and a half, and I've loved dialing in the distances, getting to know my game a little more intimately, getting tips and tricks. You
Absolutely.
know, so if you are interested in free Arccos system, I'll throw my email in the description here. Just shoot me an email saying you want the free sensors, and I'll get the link out to you. So shameless plug there at the end. So again, if you're looking to improve your game this golf season, I guarantee you, first year Arccos will do it for you. Gives you some better insight than you could ever have thought without going to a coach. So
Shout out
all right,
Fitzpatrick and all his stat padding.
that's right. You can become a mini Matt Fitzpatrick.
Facts.
So, to unofficial shout out to Arccos, a not truly a non-sponsor, but an affiliate. So, thank you guys. We're hitting this every week. We'll be back next week with the show talking about golf. I'm sure we'll have some stories as the PGA season, the golf season is really just delivering this year. So, we'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Peace.
Peace.